Mic check, 1, 2. Echoey, mic check, 1, 2. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? 4:24 p.m. Does that count as afternoon? Is it early evening? Either way, good afternoon, good evening, maybe even good morning to some other people in a different part of the world. Welcome to another daily live stream. Today is Saturday, September 6th. In this squeaky chair that this place gave me. Welcome. Nice to see everyone today. Before I begin, running with the wind, Judy, put on the tiara, Miss Peaceful One, Sleck, Tanisha, Aisha, Josh for the good, Margaret, Judy. Did I say Judy? I think I did. But either way, hello, welcome, welcome. Nice to see everyone today. Nice to have you here on a Saturday. What are you doing on Saturday? Why are you watching me? I'm just here to share my accountability. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Today's already been a very long day. I've spent, I think, the first 5 or 6 hours of my day at an event. I was the photographer for the event. So it's already been a busy day. I didn't have to go for a walk because that's how I got my steps in today. So I'll take it. I'll take it. Let's begin. Let's talk about nerd stats. Let me talk to you about where I'm at today. And let's talk about putting a quick and easy guide together when it comes to weight loss. Because the way I look at it, weight loss can be achievable, but there's always work involved. There's always accountability involved. And for many of us, there's a lot of transparency and honesty that needs to be involved in it as well. So, with that being said, today is Saturday, September 6th. Today is day 671 of my fasting journey. 671 days of imperfect consistency. 671 days of telling myself I'm not going to start over. I'm not going to wait until Monday. I'm not going to wait until the weekend ends before I begin. For some of you who are in here right now, my hope is you're in here right now because even though it's the weekend, you haven't given up. You're still pushing forward. And even if you are practicing imperfect consistency and you haven't been doing things in the most accurate, perfect way that you think is possible, it's okay. You're not beating yourself up over it. You're here to show your accountability. With that being said, I encourage any of you who are in here to share your results, to share how you're doing. I know many of us love to come in here and share our good days, and I love that. I love seeing people celebrating that. It's amazing. I love watching other people in the chat right now cheer other people on. At the same time, I know that there are other people who are struggling. I know there are other people who are maybe not doing as well as they thought they would. But here, we don't shame, we don't guilt. You shouldn't feel embarrassed. Instead, you're here to be honest and transparent about what you're doing. That's exactly what I'm doing at this point. In the last 671 days, have they been perfect? No, of course not, right? About a month ago, a little over a month ago now, I ended up gaining 30 pounds in 5 weeks. Why? Because I felt overwhelmed. I started using food for comfort, food to stress eat, and it led me to gain a bunch of weight. Because I'm moving out of the country and I had a laundry list of things to do, I didn't know how to handle things. And instead of taking things one day at a time, knocking things off of my list, I decided I would just eat my worries away. And where did that lead me? Gaining 30 pounds in 5 weeks instead of chipping things away. But because of the power of habit, the power of imperfect consistency, the power of transparency and being honest, I ended up live streaming and sharing that I was struggling. And because I was able to do that, it got me right back on my journey. And since then, for the last 6-ish weeks, I have been doing different rounds of fasting. I started off just doing ADF, which means eating every other day, fasting every other day. And in the first 18 days of getting back into a fasting routine, I lost 21 of those 30 pounds in 18 days, right? That's the power of imperfect consistency. That's the power of consistency. That's the power of habit. That's the power of showing up. And even after losing 21 pounds in 18 days, I had a family friend thing, and I ended up having a 7,500 calorie refeed. That big refeed pushed me up 7 pounds. But I went ahead, I did a 93-hour fast, lost 10 pounds. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to eat 7,500 calories. I ate it because I eat in very high volumes. You also don't have to fast for 93 hours. I did it because I wanted to counteract the 7,300 calories I ate. If you are somebody that wants to have a more lenient day and you want to eat 3,000 calories, 4,000 calories, less than what I eat, then you should do that. That also means you don't have to fast for that long. You can if you want to, but that's really up to you. I am just trying to teach and provide and give you the tools that you need to keep your journey going. So after doing a 93-hour fast, I ended up losing almost 24 pounds in 3 weeks, right? And I was on the right path. So I'm like, okay, let's go back into ADF, eating every other day, fasting every other day. For me, ADFs are fairly simple. That second round of ADFs, I'm eating 3,400 calories this time, even higher on my refeeds. And then I had a 20% day after that where I ate 4,800 calories, gained 5.6 pounds, performed a 67-hour fast, lost more weight, performed another 66-hour fast, lost more weight. And then I had a 6,300 calorie day. I pushed up 11.4 pounds. The 11.4 pounds that I gained even surprised me, but it also made me realize that as I've been doing this, as I put on 5, 6, 7 pounds every refeed, I also know I'm not putting on 5, 6, 7 pounds of fat. That 11 pounds was a lot after eating 6,300 calories, but look at what happened after a 60-hour fast. I ended up losing more weight than I gained after the 6,300 calorie day with a 60-hour fast, losing 29 pounds in 39 days. And then look what happens after that. Highlighted in blue, the last blue highlight, I went on vacation. I've literally shown everyone what I have been eating on my vacation days. Some of those days on vacation, I was fasted, but I went on vacation for a week. Went on vacation for a week and I literally kept my weight around the same weight when I started. But we'll talk about that in a second, right? And currently, where I'm at today, so because I went on vacation for 7 days, and of the days that I ate on vacation, which were 4 of those 7 days, I ate fairly heavy. I ate not the cleanest, and I know that I needed to put another fast under me to really kind of make sure I keep myself in check. So currently I'm 42 hours and 53 minutes fasted. I'm fasting all day today. I fasted all day yesterday, and I'm fasting tomorrow until I break. Well, I'll be breaking tomorrow, but I'll be breaking tomorrow actually earlier in the day, but I'll talk about that in a second. You don't have to fast for this long. You also don't have to eat the way I do. What I'm trying to teach you is use your tools to your availability. You want to fast for long? Fast for long, if you can healthily do so. If you start to feel sluggish, if you start to feel weak, if you start to feel like you can't keep going, break your fast. Start again. Use the other tools at your disposal to help accommodate you lose the weight and get to your goals to where you need to be. That's all it takes, is just pushing through day after day after day. It's the practice of doing this, the practice of accepting imperfection, the practice of telling yourself some days are going to be good, some days aren't. The practice of that and telling yourself that is something that it's not easy for many of us to accept. Many of us sometimes are like, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. And then how do you act when you tell yourself this isn't good enough? You act in ways that you shouldn't. If you fast for, let's say, 72 hours planned and you end up fasting for 41, for example, some of us say 41 hours, that's not good enough. Now I'm just going to eat whatever. Now I'm just going to go crazy and eat X, Y, and Z. And in reality, that kind of behavior, doing something like that, is digging yourself a deeper hole. That is how many of us end up gaining more weight, because we are doing the all or nothing routine. Telling ourselves we need to fast for this amount of time. And if we don't do it, then I'm going to eat everything in sight. And then what ends up happening is you'll eat everything in sight, and then you'll say, now I'll fast for longer. Now I'll add 2 more days to my fast, 3 more days to my fast. Many of us are just digging a deeper hole because some of us cannot fast for that long. We might think we can, but what you're doing is you are practicing the all or nothing mentality, which is really, it's sinking your ship. It's sinking your ship. So when I talk about imperfect consistency, when I talk about practicing, doing something that doesn't have to be perfect, I show you, especially when I refeed, what that imperfection looks like. In my last 20 refeeds, my average refeed time, about 5 hours. I'm pretty good with that. But look at my average calories per refeed. 3,900 over my last 20 refeeds. 3,900 calories. I'm way over where I want to be. I do want to keep my calories under 3,000, but the reason it's 3,900 is more recently, I've had a few 20% days. Those 20% days are high calories. But there is no part of me here that is giving up. There's no part of me here that is pretending it didn't happen. There is no part of me here that is hiding it, because I'm literally filming everything I eat to show you that it happens. It's going to be okay. And as I start sharing my weight with you all, I mean, if you're here every day, you know what that looks like. My weight is still going down. It's still going down. It's still pushing down, regardless of the calories being as high as they are. Do I want it to be at 3,900 on average? No, I don't. I want it to be lower. But I'm also not complaining that I'm continuing to lose weight, because I am using other tools at my disposal. Hopefully, the tool of limiting my calories and keeping it in check will outweigh this, where you'll see all of this in green. But for now, it is what it is. It is what it is. As we look into the bigger picture here, right? And you look at my last 12 refeeds from August 9th to September 4th. So almost in a 1-month period, you'll see a lot of asterisks. Those asterisks are either vacation days or quote unquote 20% days where I'm eating higher calories. You'll only see 2 that are not highlighted there that are under 3,000 calories. Now, you might be looking at that and you're like, that's an insane amount of calories, but you're also missing the fact that there are a lot of fasting days in there. You're also missing the fact that previous refeeds were under 3,000. This is a practice of imperfect consistency. This is a practice of, hey, some days I'm going to eat more, some days I'm going to eat less, but things are going to be okay. Matthew asks, Do you ever check your blood sugar when you break your fast? I used to, but I don't anymore. The only thing that I really care about is what my A1C says. I'm sure if you're asking Matthew, you probably know what I'm talking about when I talk about my A1C is what my blood sugar averages over the last 3 months. So for me, every time I go to the doctor every 6 months, as long as my A1C is in check, I don't really worry about it so much. If I really wanted to dig deeper and get a deeper dive into it, I guess I could, but I don't really do that because I don't want to stress myself out about measuring everything all day, every day. But it might be good. Maybe one day I'll get one of those CGMs, those continuous glucose monitors, just to see kind of where, just to kind of see where my sugar is at every now and then. Hi, Matthew, by the way. Dean says, you're being too hard on yourself. Are you talking to me? I don't, if you are, I guess I'll say this, right? Like, I don't think I'm being too hard on myself. I honestly think I'm okay with what I'm doing and where I'm at. But again, I'm not sure if you're talking to me or not. There are things I wish I could do better. Yes, Dean says. There are things I wish I could do better, but I'm not beating myself up over it. I feel good about it. The reason I bring a lot of this stuff up is because I know a lot of us are too hard on ourselves. And what a lot of us end up doing when we're too hard on ourselves is we end up going the complete opposite way. We end up completely overeating, overindulging, not taking care of ourselves in really toxic ways, right? So that is something that I like to bring up so people understand, hey, these are things that we still need to keep ourselves in check. Matthew says, I miss your phone, your own streams. I am only focusing on this channel. I sometimes miss my tech stuff, but tech isn't as exciting to me as it used to be, Matthew. So that's kind of where that is. Maybe one day, maybe one day. I know that channel was good for what it was, but this is something that really means a lot to me. So Sandil says, will you regain this weight if you stop fasting? Well, here's the thing, Sandil, is people ask this question to me when I was doing 90-hour fasts. They're like, you can't do 90-hour fast forever. Eventually, you're going to have to stop doing that. And that is exactly what happened. But that's something that I have learned over practice. My 90-hour fasts ended up becoming 65-hour fasts, ended up being 42-hour fasts, ended up being eating back-to-back days every now and a while, every now and again. Some days 18-hour fasts, some days 23-hour fasts, some days 16-hour fasts. So fasting is always going to be a part of my journey. Sandil, even as you say this, you fast every day too. It's not like we don't stop fasting. We always fast. If you sleep, you fast. It's just the decision of how long you're going to be fasting for. Now, if you're asking me, will I regain the weight if I stop prolonged fasting? If I stop doing, let's say, 36s and I only do OMADs, that's going to depend on how I eat. That's what it comes down to. It's going to depend on how well I eat. I could eat every day. Now, will I keep the weight off if I eat every day? That has yet to be seen. That's not even something that I think I even want to do. For me, my ultimate goal is to probably eat more often, maybe eat 5 times a week when I get to my goal weight, and maybe fast 1 or 2 days out of the week so that I get to eat a little more calories every now and then just to keep my weight in check. So to answer your question, will I regain this weight if I stop fasting? One, I'm never going to stop fasting because fasting is always going to be a part of my life. But two, you have to wait and see because I don't even know that. I don't even know that. At this point, I'm just doing what continues to work for me. I'm lucky that I can keep pushing my weight down because I keep getting better at the way I refeed, the way I limit my calories. So we'll see. We'll see. Sharika, am I saying that right? Sharika Martin asks, is it true if we end our feasting window with carbs or sugar, it'll make our fast much harder? So this is okay. Other people in chat, you can share your opinion on this. But is it true if we end our feasting window with carbs or sugar, it'll make our fast much harder? For me, I always end my feast, my refeeds with dessert. Always. They're always higher in carbs. Sometimes they're higher in sugar. If you saw my refeed 2 days ago, I ended it with half of a pumpkin pie. But I'm here right now fasting. For me, right? It's not difficult. This is something that I'm used to. Now, here's the thing though. If you rephrase this question, oh my God, I hate when this chair like leans this way. If you rephrase this question, if you said, well, what about Jerome if you just ate nothing but ultra processed foods? So let's reassess that question and I'll give you my answer to this. If I refed, let's say my refeed was, I don't know, let's say a pizza, let's say 2 double cheeseburgers, let's say mozzarella sticks, let's say pumpkin pie, right? Completely ultra processed, a lot of foods that are not nutrient dense. I know I would have a hard time fasting because the way I refeed today, even though I eat foods that might be higher in carbs or some foods that are processed, I eat a lot of foods that are nutrient dense. I eat a lot of foods that are whole foods. I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat a lot of fruits. I eat a lot of protein. I eat a lot of meat. I prioritize protein. And then to kind of give myself a little something extra, then I'll have something that's a bit processed. The thing I look at too, right, is you should try it for yourself and see how it feels, right? See how it feels. If you notice you're craving specific things, write that down. Be aware of it. Be like, if I eat this way, this is how I feel when I fast. Fasts are harder when, fasts are harder if, different for everyone, but I'll tell you, the less nutrient dense my foods are when I refeed, the harder it is for me to fast. It could be a psychological thing, it could be a physical thing. But I do believe that our bodies are craving nutrient dense foods. Our bodies are craving specific nutrients to keep us going. And if we don't do that, if we don't give it to ourselves, I think our body starts asking for it. Now, that's how I think. That's where I feel in that regard. You don't have to eat processed foods. You don't have to eat super sugary foods, right? But I do it because it's not a physical thing, it's more a mental thing. It gives me mental relief to be able to eat something that I quote unquote shouldn't be eating. For me, it gives me that mental relief that says, okay, I've eaten everything I've needed to eat. I ate my protein for my refeed. I had very high nutrient dense foods, eating a ton of vegetables, eating a ton of fruits, eating a ton of meat. And then I have something a little extra. And then I move on to my next fast. And if you're ever wondering what I eat, you can just watch any of my refeeds or any of my live streams where I have my refeeds. I'll be refeeding tomorrow, so you can watch Monday's live stream where I show what I ate on Monday. So hopefully that's helpful, Sharika. Hopefully that's helpful. Appreciate the question though. And thank you everyone in here for, I see Miss Peaceful One, I see Sleck and Josh kind of chiming in and sharing their experiences with that as well. That is what I look for in these live streams. I look for these in chat because I read through them later on, and I love being able to see other people's perspectives. I love being able to see how people feel, what they experience, because I think it's helpful for the community. It's helpful for me too, because sometimes I'll read things and I'll be like, I've never thought about that before. Maybe this is something I'll implement, right? Everything that I've learned from day 1 to day 671 today, I've learned through a combination of things I've done, things I've watched, and even other people I've coached, and even people on the stream here who share specific things. So that's why I love being able to do this and share what I can, because I know this, sharing what we share and sharing our experiences and being accountable and being transparent and not putting shame or guilt or embarrassment and showing that accountability, to me, I think all of these factors help keep us going. They help keep us pushing forward, right? I really, how many times did I say I really appreciate everyone here, and I cherish that we are able to share what we're able to share. Um, Matthew says, I just had a refeed and alcohol, 4 bottles of beer. Just switch my timer on now. Do you ever drink alcohol on a refeed? Yeah, I did actually 2 days ago. Was it 2 days ago? No, I had beer the last refeed 3 days ago. So yeah, I drink beer. I drink whiskey. Whiskey is what I drink more of. But I love a good beer every now and then. My only suggestion for you is, if you are drinking beer and you're having 4 beers and maybe you're eating not the healthiest, I would still recommend trying to put good nutrient dense foods into your refeed as well. No one's stopping you from having a beer or two if that's what you want. Now, if you're having a beer every single refeed, let's say you're having 4 or 5 beers every single refeed, then maybe that's a different story, right? You should also be conscientious of how many calories you're putting in when you're having those beers. So, again, right? A lot of this is imperfect consistency. I'm not saying you can't have X, Y, and Z. I'm just saying be mindful about what you're having, because you don't want it to go completely out of control. A lot of questions today. I appreciate the questions. Sharika says, what about eating real late and going to sleep? Sharika, you're talking my language. This is the way I eat. I eat sugary foods. I eat high carb foods. I eat late. One of the reasons I eat late on my refeeds, and I don't eat super late anymore. I used to eat really, really late, but I try to like maybe start my refeed around 5, 6 o'clock, 5, 6 p.m. at night. And then I'll finish around 10 or 11 or so. Now, so for you, I get home at 10:30 p.m. from work, and it's a struggle not to eat late on a refeed day. It doesn't, so for me, listen, Sharika, I have lost 80 pounds in less than 5 months. I have kept that weight off now for almost 2 years. 99% of my refeeds are at night, in the evening. Now, they're not this late at night. I'm not refeeding at like 11, 12 in the morning, right? But I still eat fairly late. And I've had refeeds where they end at 1, 2 in the morning. So I still think, at least in my experience, you can still keep the weight off regardless of the timing of when you eat. I think what's more important is, are you putting yourself in a caloric deficit? Are you eating less calories than you are burning on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? Those are the real questions that you need to answer for yourself. Only you know that. And only you know the honesty behind that too. Because sometimes when I ask people this question, when I coach people and I ask them how they eat, sometimes they're like, no, I eat real clean. I only eat X amount of calories per day. And sometimes people don't realize that they're either lying to themselves or they're having more than they should. And I'm not saying you're doing any of those things. I'm just saying, be honest about what you're doing. Really find out and be accountable of your actions, because that is how you're going to figure out if you need to scale things back, if you need to eat cleaner. I wouldn't worry so much about the time. I wouldn't worry so much about eating later at night. Yes, I believe there are scientific things that say eating late at night isn't the best because it can do X, Y, and Z to your digestion, your sleep. But listen, if you're fasting and you're eating once a day or once every other day, you're doing a lot of other things to outweigh eating later at night. One of the reasons I eat late at night or later in the evening is because I know that if I break my fast at 12 p.m., I will literally eat from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. You could say, well, Jerome, why don't you just eat from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m.? Because I know what happens to me personally. If I eat from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., at 6 p.m., at 7 p.m. while I'm still awake, I'm going to be like, oh, I should eat something. I should eat something. I should eat something. Now, this is something that maybe has changed now that I've been doing this journey for a long time, but I enjoy eating later in the day. I enjoy finishing all my work, getting everything out of the way before I eat, right? So for me, it's helpful in that regard. You have to do what works for you. So let's get back into the nerd stats, right? Let's talk about what my weigh-ins look like and what my fasted weights look like. Look at everything highlighted in red, right? Everything highlighted in red is what, for me, where the weight goes after I finish a refeed. You'll see 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds where I gain, right? After a refeed. And in that way, right, it can be very detrimental for many of us. We look at that, we're like, I just fasted for XYZ, and now the weight's pushed up. What's the point, right? And it's just a reminder for many of you that pushing up 5, 6, 7 pounds of weight on the scale isn't you putting on 5, 6, 7 pounds of fat, right? This weight that pushes up is going to be a combination of water weight, is going to be a combination of food that's still in your system, of waste that's in your system. Because even as you see 5, 6, 7 pounds push up after a refeed, you'll also notice highlighted in green 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds of weight moving down on the scale after a fast. I don't put on that much weight, or I'm not putting on that much fat after a refeed, and I'm also not losing that much fat after a fast. The number on the scale is something that it's like a double-edged sword, right? The number on the scale can make or break our day. You know what I'm talking about, especially if you are guilty of this, right? How many of you have stepped on the scale and you didn't like what it showed? Let's say even after a fast, even after getting your exercise in, and then the weight isn't what you wanted to see. How many of you have acted negatively after that? How many of you have stepped on the scale and you were like, I don't understand. And then you see that number, and instead of continuing good, healthy habits like you were doing, you decide this isn't worth it. I'm going to go to drive-through. I'm going to order on DoorDash. I'm just going to open up the fridge and eat everything there and break my fast, because what's the point? That kind of behavior, you're letting a scale control your actions. Why would you let the scale control your actions? Why would you let what the number on the scale says even make you do things that are worse for you, when you know that putting yourself in a caloric deficit, getting walks in to help your cardio health, going to the gym to lift weights, why would you stop any of those things if it's a good, healthy habit because of what the scale says? If you are that person and you continue to be that person, you have to put work into that. And you have to remember that that number on the scale is only a number. It shouldn't ruin your day. It shouldn't devalue you. It shouldn't tell you that you're better or worse because of what the number says. But if you can't stop yourself from doing that, right? If you can't stop yourself from doing that, then maybe it's time to put the scale away. Maybe it's time to take a break from the scale. It's time to start looking at your non-scale victories. What do I mean by non-scale victories? Think about a shirt that's too tight, pants that are too tight to button. Look at that and use that as a measuring guide. Do good, healthy habits for a week. Try to put that shirt on again. See where it looks or see how it looks on you. Take a picture that day when you first try to put it on so you understand how tight that shirt is. In a week's time or after 3 days or after 5 days, try to put it on again. See where it's at. Push another 5 days. Continue good, healthy habits. See where it's at. That makes a lot more of a difference than what a number on the scale says. If you look at these numbers and you'll see me push 11 pounds of weight, right? If I gained 11 pounds, when I gained 11 pounds, and if I acted negatively towards it, if I gained 11 pounds and I said, oh my God, okay, so I ate 6,300 calories, I gained 11 pounds. So what should I do now? Should I start a fast or should I just eat everything again? Should I eat another 6,300 calories again? You already know the answer to this. If I gained 11 pounds on the scale, should I then tell myself, well, I shouldn't walk today then? What's the point of walking? What's the point of going to the gym, right? No. I continue my good, healthy habits because I also know that I didn't gain 11 pounds of fat. And sure enough, right, where you see that 11 pounds after a 60-hour fast or completing a 65-hour fast, I lost 12.8 pounds. I gained 11.4, did a 65-hour fast, and then lost 12.8. I didn't gain 11 pounds of fat. I didn't lose 12 pounds of fat. But I love the fact that I fasted long enough to get me to push the scale, the number on the scale, even further down. Because I trust the process. I absolutely trust the process. Miss Peaceful One says here, non-scale victories for the win, right? And so, like, let's even add on to that, right? Other non-scale victories. Other non-scale victories could be if you're a type 2 diabetic, and you check your blood sugar and your blood sugar's in check. That's a win. What's another win? You check your high blood pressure. Your high blood pressure or your blood pressure's in check. That's a win. Having more energy because you had a restful nights of sleep is a win. Sleeping straight without waking up because your blood sugar is so high that you have to pee every 2-3 hours. That's a win. These are non-scale victories. The way your clothes fit, the energy that you have during the day, not feeling winded after climbing a flight of steps. Guys, I literally was at an event where I was the photographer for the event, and I was there walking on my feet for 4 or 5 hours straight. I wasn't suffering. I didn't feel defeated. I didn't feel tired. Why? Because I have been practicing good, healthy habits now for 670 days, or however many days I'm at, 671 days, right? There are many other things that matter outside of the number on the scale. The number on the scale still gets me too. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't look at the scale and I'm like, I need it to go down, right? I wish it would go down some days, but at the same time, I don't worry about it so much. The number on the scale recently for me has pretty much been on a constant downtrend. I mean, if I were to share, right? I mean, maybe what I needed to do is have a better look at this, but maybe screenshotted it or whatever. But if you look at my last 30 days, what direction is this going? What direction is this graph going, right? It's going down. Do you see where it spiked up? It spiked up because I had a 7-day vacation, but that's a temporary spike because eventually that number or that graph will push itself down again. Look at the last 90 days on my journey, right? Do you know what that big spike was? That big spike was when I felt overwhelmed and I overate and I overindulged and I stress ate and I just put myself into a bad place because I was practicing bad habits that I was accustomed to doing for decades and decades on end. But here, look, this is what the graph looks like for me in the last 671 days. Look at how high this was, right? This is 2023, November 2023. Look at how high that is. And look at what's happened since then. You'll see ups and downs and ups and downs, right? But there's no part of me that said, I'm going to start over. Today's day one. Instead, every day I continue logging. Every day I continue hitting the timer. Every day I learn about myself. Every day I keep pushing on. I do not give up. And here's the thing, when I talk about not giving up, right? I'm not saying, when I say I don't give up, it's not like I'm just going 100 all day, every day. I'm not at full speed all day, every day. I'm not continuously fasting for days on end. I'm not eating the cleanest for days on end. The journey is about learning about yourself, about accepting imperfection, about understanding that there are going to be bumps in the road, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I show that because I think it's really important that you know that I'm not perfect, but you know what? I'm very consistent. I'm imperfectly consistent. I am showing up every day. I'm being transparent. I'm being honest. Yes, some days are a lot more difficult than others, but it doesn't change the fact for me that I'll continue practicing good, healthy habits because at the end of the day, that's really what's important. What does the number on the scale matter if you are practicing good, healthy habits? Those good, healthy habits will eventually get that scale to push down. Those good, healthy habits will eventually get your blood sugar numbers down, your high blood pressure down. It'll get you wearing the clothes that you want to wear by practicing good, healthy habits. That's what's important. If you're sitting here thinking that the only thing that matters is the number on the scale and you're not being mindful about your good, healthy habits, you're losing, right? Because you're thinking in a very all or nothing way. Because what happens after you give it your all? You haven't had practice yet. You haven't had practice doing the things in between, which again, right? Completely vital, important. Doing the things in between, outside of all or nothing, doing the things in between. If you are not good at that, if you have not practiced doing it because you are telling yourself it's not good enough, you're losing. You're not giving yourself the opportunity to learn from a middle ground. Instead, you're either doing it all or you're doing nothing at all. And this is the part, the nothing part. This is what you need to give up. You can give it your all. Don't play the nothing part. Do something in between. Even if that something in between is still closer to the nothing end of it, that's how you get yourself out of that thinking. That's how you get yourself out of that bad habit. Because I'm telling you, doing the all or nothing is the bad habit. The nothing part is the bad habit. Knock that out of your system. It doesn't mean that the nothing part is never going to happen again. I say that because I don't want you to beat yourself up if you do the nothing part. But maybe what's more important is that nothing part, throwing the day away, happens less and less and less. I've talked about this before. The frequency of it happening becomes less and less and less. Did somebody ask a question? Maybe. Esther asked, hi, Esther. How do you manage to control your thoughts and therefore your actions of not binging every single refeed? I know you enjoy extra food during your 20% days, but in my case, I struggle due to a new mentality of I'm not going to have this specific food for a while due to fasting. So let me get as much as possible in now. And I do so with food after food and snack after snack. So I already see other people have helped with this, but let me share this too, right? So this is very common. This is something that a lot of people bring up to me. I'll try to make this a little more succinct too. What Esther is asking is, how do you stop yourself from eating so much before you get on another fast, right? Because this is very common. Sometimes during our refeed days after fasting, we're like, okay, I'm going to eat everything now. I have to eat everything now because this is the last time I'm going to eat it for a while, right? This has happened to me too. I've done a similar thing too. Now, I'll bring this in two different ways. One, for me, right? I would do it, and I've come to the point where I'm just like, I eventually got myself out of that just through habit, right? And when I say that, I mean, sooner or later, I'm just like, this isn't worth it because I'm putting myself at a caloric surplus. Now I have to fast for longer, right? And eventually I just got tired of eating that way. So I get that kind of thinking. But here's the thing, and maybe this is something that might be a little more helpful for you, is if you are in a place where you're like, okay, I'm going to eat everything because now I have to fast for 90 hours, fast for 72 hours, fast for 60 hours, whatever, right? What you should probably be, or maybe the question I have for you is, are you fasting for too long? Because if you are acting that way and you can't get yourself out of that habit, out of that action, if you find yourself overeating, completely overeating, maybe you're fasting for too long. And maybe that's not what you want to hear, right? Because maybe there's a part of you that says, but I want to fast for that long. Listen, if you want to fast for that long, you should also tell yourself, if I eat this much, I have to fast for this long to get the weight off. Maybe what it means for you then is shorter fasts, better control with your eating, right? So you could still eat what you want, but trying to control how much you're eating and telling yourself, okay, maybe I cut my fast in half. Maybe I cut my fast by a third of the time, a quarter of the time. Because what you might be doing then is you're restricting too much to the point that it becomes so uncomfortable for you that it's not sustainable. This is it's a hard area to perfect. One of the reasons that I feel like I'm good at doing this is because I'm looking at the number of calories I'm eating and I'm saying, I need to fast for this long to get into this deficit. I also have the practice of fasting for long periods of time, and it doesn't affect me in this way, right? Like I'm talking to you all right now with a 43-hour fast under my belt. I literally was physical this morning for the last 4 or 5 hours. And I'm doing this live stream right now because for me, it isn't difficult. For me, I feel okay with it, right? Does it mean I want to fast for 65 or 90 hours, day in and day out? No. Eventually, I want to eat more frequently. I don't mind fasting for long periods of time, but I don't want to do it all the time, right? I think it's really important for me to be able to eat a little more frequently and limit my calories because it's more enjoyable, if I'm being honest, to eat more frequently. Sometimes it's really enjoyable to eat a lot of food in one day, but that for me lately is far and few between for the most part. One Golden Breeze asks, and actually, I don't know if you're asking me or I see other people answering as well, but One Golden Breeze asks, why do I need to eat more calories than my maintenance in order to gain weight? That's what the nutritionist says, but the math isn't mathing. I don't get it. and also says they claim it's because I've been below minimum BMI for too long, but it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, one golden breeze, and you know what? The weekend is coming up. A new week is coming up, and so now that I'm settled into this new place, I I will have time this week, so we should talk this week. But I'll say this, right? Uh, when you ask why do I need to eat more calories than my maintenance in order to gain weight, I mean that's pretty much how it works, right? So you're not trying to maintain your weight, so you need to eat in a surplus to put weight on. Now, maybe you think you don't need to lose weight, or I'm sorry, maybe you think you don't need to gain weight. For anybody who's watching this, this is, for people who are not familiar with One Golden Breeze's journey is the opposite, where One Golden Breeze has to gain weight. And maybe that's the real question is, are you in a place right now where you think your weight is where it needs to be? To me, it sounds like your nutritionist or your doctor is telling you you need to put on weight. So, right, if and okay, right? So One Golden Breeze says, but like 4,000 calories, I can't. And here's the thing, right? Like, I get that. I totally get that. So if your maintenance calories, for example, is let's say 1,800, right? Then maybe it means a string of 2,100 or 2,200. To do 4,000, if you're normally eating 1,500 or 1,200, that just doesn't sound, I mean, I wouldn't force it down that way either. Let's talk One Golden Breeze. I know I've said that, but like this week it was harder for me because of vacation and I just got back and it's the weekend, but let's talk. Let's talk. And I love that other people are on here sharing as well and trying to help out. So, there are a lot of good suggestions that I'm seeing here. I know this is a longer conversation, but you're right too. Doing 4,000 is quite a bit, especially if you're somebody that is normally eating 1,200, 1,500, right? 1,800. So, yeah, yeah. Sharika asks, "Are you still doing the one-on-one coaching in this season with your busy move?" Yeah, I am. I did them yesterday. I had one today, but I had to reschedule that, and we rescheduled it for yesterday. So I'm still coaching, and my calendar is actually pretty open now that I'm done moving. Because right now my focus is on work and actually finishing the move right when I move out of the country, but almost all of that is done now. All I have to do now is pack a bag and I'm out of here. Everything else is done. The paperwork's done. The plane tickets are booked. The place I'm staying at in the Philippines is booked. So I'm good. I'm good. So I have time. If you're asking because you're curious about coaching, please reach out to me. Wow. One Golden Breeze, barely 800 is what you're taking in. And they're trying to get you to do 4,000 at the moment. I think this will be a conversation that we can maybe talk about. And I love seeing that other people are reaching out and sharing with you and being supportive in that way. So hopefully, right, like we can get you in a better place again, right? Like we're not doctors and, I'm not a therapist in that way, but I have gone through my own share and I know a lot of people have here as well. So I know people are trying to help in the best way that they can. Where am I at here? Before I get to that too, Esther says here, I never in my life measured calories. It's really new to me. Not sure why I find it difficult to do so, as in I don't feel it's enough type thing, and sounds so time consuming. So here's the thing, Esther, and I don't think calorie counting is for everyone either. I think calorie counting is very dependent on the person For me, for example, because I eat in such high volume, right? I eat in such high volume that I need to count, or at least give myself a rough estimate of how much I'm taking in so that I don't completely overdo it. Or that when I do eat in high volumes, I at least know what that number is, a rough number, a rough estimate that I can tell myself, okay, if you ate this much, you should probably push this long of a fast. Because that's kind of how I manage these specific refeeds. If I'm not eating 3,000 calories and instead I'm eating 6,000 or 8,000, then I need to know roughly what that number is so that I can put an appropriate fast underneath me. Now, because I'm eating 3,000 and I'm fasting every other day, I'm not fasting every other day because I'm trying to maintain the weight, right? Right now I'm eating 3,000 calories and fasting every other day because I'm still trying to lose weight. I'm still trying to lose excess fat, right? I do something called the 250 rule when it comes to counting calories, especially when I'm just roughly counting. I look at my food, and the best way I can explain this is imagine I had a slice of pizza and let's say two slices of pizza. And I'm looking at the two slices of pizza. One is sausage, one is pepperoni, and I got it from some takeout place. And I'm looking at those two slices of pizza, and I use something called the 250 rule, where I look at those two slices of pizza, and I'm like, "Is this 250 calories?" And I can look at that automatically and be like, "Nope, this is more than 250." Then I add another 250, right? Then I'm like, "Is this 500 calories?" And I'm like, it could be, but I think it's more than that. So then, because let's say they're two big slices of pizza, then I'm like, is this 750 calories? And I'm like, no, it probably isn't, but it's probably closer to 750 than it is to 500. And then I just mark it as 750 and move on with my life. I'm not trying to get it exact. I'm not trying to weigh everything, although I have weighed and I continue to weigh food, especially when I'm at home and preparing the food myself. Then I put some time into it. But I also eat a lot of the same foods. So for the most part, I know where my calorie counts lie. And here's the practice about counting on a regular basis too, is after a while, you already know what that calorie count is roughly looking like. So that in the future, you don't have to keep counting as accurately. You could look at that and be like, yeah, that's around 650 calories and move on, right? So in that regard, I wouldn't look at counting calories as doing it as accurately as possible. I would look at it as this is a practice that I can do to help me make sure that I'm not going completely overboard. It's also a practice that you can do so that you get better at it, so that in the future, because now I can roughly look at a bowl of rice and know if I'm going overboard or not. And that's the thing too. When it comes to things like fruits and vegetables, I'm not as accurate when I'm eating it because I can look at fruits and vegetables and be like, these barely have any calories in it. But if I'm looking at something that's high calorie, like a slice of cheesecake, or even when it comes to white rice, if I'm overdoing it with the white rice, then I am going to weigh it because then it helps keep me in check in that way. So that's kind of my advice when it comes to that. Let's get through these nerd stats because I'm actually way over time at this point. It's because I don't have any other sessions tonight and I have more time to talk and I enjoy being able to share when I can. But as I've shared my fasting routine, the way I eat, here is also other things that I do for myself. It's more than just fasting, right? My daily step average over the last 45 days has been over 16,000 steps. But look at what the last 6 days look like, right? In the last 6 days, some of my step counts were lower than my 16,000. They're lower than my 15,000 that I was aiming for. 13,000, 12,000, 15,000 roughly. But then if you go 3 days further back, you'll see 24,000, 21,000, 24,000. Now, I share this because I think it's important that you see that even though I try to aim for 15,000 steps a day, 6 times a week, I don't always hit that number. Some days I'll hit more. Some days I hit way less. But on average, over the last 45 days, I'm still over 16,000 steps. Again, I share this because it's really important that you know that even on days where I don't hit my step count, I don't give up. I don't say, well, why even do any steps if you're not going to hit your step count? Now, this is the important part because I know there are some of you who are here right now and who are like, well, what's the point of getting my steps in if all I can do right now is just walk down the street and walk back? Why? Because it's a habit. You not going out for your steps, you staying inside 7 days a week is a habit that is probably not healthy and is probably leading to other bad habits. Sometimes when people come to me and they're like, Jerome, this is my plan. I'm going to do 90-hour fasts and I'm going to eat only 2,000 calories per refeed and I'm going to make sure I get 10,000 steps a day. And then when I ask them, when's the last time they've done 10,000 steps 7 days a week? They'll be like, well, I've never done it before. Again, right? If you want to push, push. But at the same time, if you are of that all or nothing mindset and you just don't want to do anything because you didn't do as you planned, there is a lot to be learned from getting up, getting your socks on, getting your shoes on, and going for a walk. Even if it's a 5-minute walk, even if it's just around the block. You might be watching this and you're like, but that's not good enough. Okay. If it's not good enough, first of all, that's your all or nothing mindset. But even if you think it's not good enough, the positive here is it is a way to rewire your habits. It is a way to get you to shift your mindset. It is a way to put something into practice that you haven't put in before because you're used to doing all or nothing, all or nothing, all or nothing. If you are all and you give it your all, that's great, but that can only go for so long. If you do nothing and you give up and you say, well, what's the point of fasting? Now I'm just going to eat. Now I'm not going to exercise. Now I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. When you do the nothing part, you learn nothing because instead of doing the middle ground and accepting imperfection and say, hey, I'm still doing something. This is still important to me. This is me putting something into practice. This is me getting into a good habit. That kind of thinking, that way to rewire your brain, right? That's how you're going to find success. Weight loss, when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to your health and wellness, it isn't rocket science. We all know what we need to do to take care of ourselves. It's the habits that need tweaking. It's the habits that need optimizing. It's the accountability. It's showing up. Those are the important moments. Those are really good ways to start learning about yourself and what you're doing. I go by something that I call the 80-20 rule. Actually, I forgot to update that second part there. But you might be asking yourself, what's the 80-20 rule? What do you mean by 80-20? When I say 80-20, I'm talking about doing the good things for yourself, your good, healthy habits. You're doing it 80% of the time. What does an 80% of the time look like? If you take the month of September, the month we're in right now, there are 30 days in September. 80% of that time is 24 of those days. So 24 of the 30 days, you should be practicing good, healthy habits. Now, does it mean that on those 24 days, it should be perfect? No. But 24 out of those 30 days, you should be doing a lot of these good, healthy habits. It might not be perfect. You might not eat perfectly. You might not fast perfectly. You might not exercise perfectly, but I would still count it as an 80% day if you are doing the things you're supposed to be doing. Now, the 20% days for the month of September in a 30-day month, 6 days out of the week, right? 6 days. 6 days where you get to be a little more lackadaisical. Is that the right word? You get to be a little less strict about what you're doing and how you're feeling, right? Maybe you don't want to count as strictly. Maybe you don't want to get all your steps in for the day, right? That's where the 20% comes in. That's where it comes in for me. But it doesn't mean on my 20% days, I'm still not trying to be mindful. Yes, I'm going to be a little more lax. That's what I meant. Not lackadaisical, lax. I try to be more lax, but I'm not completely throwing the day away where I'm being completely mindless. Now, of course, 2 days ago, I ate 7,300 calories, a lot of calories, but there was still mindfulness to it. If you watch my live stream where I show what I ate and why I made those decisions, I think for anyone who's watched that, you could have easily seen that I could have probably done 10,000 calories, 15,000 calories. Your 80-20 days don't have to be perfect either. But I share this because it's helpful for me to give you an idea of how often the 80% days happen. In the last 45 days, yeah, see, I forgot to update everything on here. In the last 45 days, I've had 38 of those days be 80% days. That number is wrong there, but that's an 84%. In the last 45 days, I've had 38 80% days, 84%. So it's not an 80-20, that's more of an 84-16 at this point. My 20% days, 6 out of 45, right? Which is, well, 13.3%. Anyway, just showing you that I'll fix those numbers later, that my 20% days are high calorie. My 80% days are at the calorie number I want it to be. And those 80% days outweigh the 20%. It's just giving yourself a little leeway. It's reminding you that you can still live your life and you don't have to be so strict about it, so all or nothing all the time. This is giving yourself grace. This is being okay with living your life and saying, hey, it's going to be fine. The good days are going to outweigh the bad days. Just to share this, and I shared this yesterday, but I have shown you what imperfect consistency looks like. I am literally living through imperfect consistency. Most recently, I went on vacation from the 29th of August to September 5th. Even on vacation, I just didn't throw everything away. Even on vacation, I just didn't say, okay, I'm going to eat 6,000, 7,000 calories for 7 days in a row. On the 7 days of vacation, I fasted for 3 of those days. On the other 4 days, I indulged a 3,600 calorie day, a 4,400 calorie day, a 6,000 calorie day, a 7,300 calorie day. If you average all 7 of those days, that puts me at 3,000 calories a day. So still over how I would want to eat on a daily basis, but not where it's completely overboard. Did I have to fast on those 3 days on vacation? No. I could have eaten cleaner. I could have limited my calories. Did I have to eat 7,300 calories on my last day of vacation? No. I could have also eaten cleaner. I could have also limited those calories. But these were mindful decisions that I made. I told myself, well, I don't really just want to eat 500 calories. I could just have a bunch of fruit and vegetables and be done with it. But for me, I'm like, I'll just take the day fasted. It's easier for me anyway. That was my decision. I share this because it's important that you figure out what your journey looks like. Your journey, it's going to be different. The way you eat is going to be different. The way you fast is going to be different. The way you refeed is going to be different. Exercise different, sleep different. But you know what healthy and happy looks like. I don't have to spell that out for you, or at least for most of you. I don't want you to think that, not knowing it means you're dumb. That's not what I'm saying. But I know most of us, for the most part, know what eating healthy looks like, what taking time away from food is going to help us, not help us do, but the fact that it'll help us lose fat to get weight off of the scale. So, okay. Those are my stats. Those are my nerd stats for the day. And we'll throw it into Fit Check. Let's do Fit Check. So if you're unfamiliar of what Fit Check is, that's where I'll stand back here and I'll show you what I look like physically. I am coming off of a 7,300 calorie refeed 2 days ago, but like I showed you, I'm about 43 hours fasted. So most of that weight has pushed itself down at this point. This morning, I weighed in at 145 pounds. And actually, maybe that's the slide I forgot to share with you, right? So let me see if I can find that slide because I can't remember if I put that up or not. Do I have that? Sorry, I'm like going through my slides here. I guess not. I thought I did have that. No, I do. I just forgot to highlight it here. So look at the very last bullet. 2 days ago, after I ate 7,300 calories, I put on 5.8 pounds of weight on the scale. And then this morning, I lost 4.8 of those pounds, 145.2. Now, I don't know if I have that slide, but I know I had a slide before where I showed what my weight was on vacation. Oh, I do. Actually, I just showed this earlier, but on 8/29, I weighed 144 pounds. And then on September 4th, on the last day of, or on day 6 of my vacation, the last day of my vacation, I weighed 144.2. Of course, after eating 7,300 calories, I pushed up to 150. But then this morning, I weighed at 145.2, I believe. So even after 7 days of vacation and eating XYZ amount of food, I'm pretty much at the same weight. That was my goal this time around, is I didn't really want to swing in weight during vacation. I wanted to make sure that I continued a steady progress down because I really want to get to my goal weight. I really want to get the excess fat off of me. So with all that being said, I'm going to jump into Fit Check. I want to give you an idea of what I look like physically, right? I share these photos every day so you have an idea that I have been somebody who's been overweight since I was a child. As an adolescent, right? I've been morbidly obese as a teenager, as someone in his 20s, in his 30s, and even in his 40s. I'm talking to you today having lost the majority of that weight and keeping it off, not by pills, not by injections, not by surgery, but through fasting and eating better and exercising and practicing good, healthy habits. That's what I've been doing. The reason I share those pictures from when I was a child to where I'm at today is so you understand that even someone like me who was in his 40s and still morbidly obese, who had really bad habits, who didn't even want to eat vegetables until he was 40, has found a way to lose all this weight without getting any other assistance except learning to practice good, healthy habits. I'm currently talking to you right now wearing a size large boys. This is from the boys section, large, from somebody who used to wear an XL or a double XL adult shirt. You might be asking yourself, well, why are you wearing a size large boys? How is that possible? It's because I'm 5'3", I'm short. So let's do this. This is as far back as I can go. Again, this is a size large boys, right? These pants are also boys. You'll notice I have to like tie this. Well, this tie is off. I have to tie this because these pants actually fall off of me. Even boys' pants fall off of me at this point. And I can't, I'll just retie it Anyway, this is a full shot, right? And then we'll do a side shot. Side, rear, side, and that's it. And you'll see, right? I still have a good amount of fat here, right? This is like where the remainder of it is. But for the most part, I do feel pretty lean. I feel like I'm in a pretty good place, and it's crazy that I can even say that 2 days after vacation, because I've shown many times when I used to go on vacation, I'd gain 20 pounds even after 6 days. I gained 15 pounds. I really haven't gained any weight after this vacation. I've been able to maintain it, and that's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to wear a shirt like this 2 days after a vacation and not have to like push up into my like bigger clothes. It's all because of habit changes, prioritizing what's important to me. I think I talked about this when I was on vacation, but one of the reasons I was able to fast during vacation is because I started to tell myself, wait, I don't have to eat everything because I'm on vacation. Because I used to just associate food with everything. Oh, I'm on vacation. Oh, it's time to eat. Oh yeah, I'm not going to be mindful about anything. Just eat, just eat, just eat, just eat. You're going to worry about it after. That's the difference also between all or nothing is you don't, I think the hard part that people think about, or the hard part that is hard for me to explain to other people, is when you are fasting, that's one thing. When you are being strict, that's one thing, right? But when you go on vacation, when you go on a work trip, when you go out to a social event, when you go out to a wedding, you don't have to go completely one way or the other. You can give yourself some boundaries. And I think the hard part to explain when it comes to the boundaries is if you're in the mindset of this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough, you have to let that mindset go. You have to start telling yourself, this is good enough for now. This is better than what it used to be. Because that is what will change your habits. That is what will change your mindset. A perfect example of this is, okay, how many of you have done this, right? Let's say you decided to stop fasting, and let's say you decided to partake in some bad habits. Let's say you decided to buy a bag of chips. Let's say a bag of Doritos, right? Your favorite flavor of Doritos or Cheetos or whatever your favorite flavor of chips are, or crisps if you're not from the US. Many of you would probably eat that entire bag, right? What if I told you, what if you could eat that entire bag, but you have to leave one chip? Can't eat it. You have to throw it away. Don't give me this, I'm wasting food thing. Give it to someone else, but don't eat it. I know a lot of you would be like, what's the point of that? Just leaving one chip. I'm telling you, these are the small steps I'm talking about. If you cannot get yourself out of that all or nothing mindset, maybe it means taking these tiny, tiny steps. If you're somebody that says, I'm going to go get a whole thing of Oreos and I will eat all three or all two sleeves of Oreos, then the real challenge is, okay, let's take a small step here. You can buy the Oreos. And you know what? If you can't stop the all or nothing part of you, you can eat every single Oreo except for one. Except for one. Don't come to me with this, that's not good enough. No, it has to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Something has to change. That's what I'm talking about. These are the small steps that I'm talking about. Okay. Q&A. I feel like a lot of people asked questions already, and I feel like I answered a good amount. But if any of you have any lingering questions, please feel free to ask. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm going to do. While you ask, if you have any questions, if you're looking for help when it comes to fasting or weight loss or accountability, if you're looking for an accountability partner, if you're looking for an accountability coach, you can go to finallyfasting.com. You can book a one-on-one session with me. We can put a plan and a strategy together. I can hold you accountable. I can help you take the small steps that you need to take. No shame, no guilt, no embarrassment. All I ask is that you show up. That's all I'm asking for, is you show up on the good days and on the bad days. I think if you're somebody that doesn't want to show up on your nothing days, that's the first step. Show up. Show up. Be here. Share with me, right? And even if you don't want to book a session with me, share it in chat. Share that accountability. That transparency, that accountability can make a huge difference. Finallyfasting.com if you would like to book some time with me, or if you want to just help support, you can go to the link in this live stream and you can be part of the Finally Fasting fam. You'll get your name on the intros of these live streams. You'll get custom emoji. You can join the autophagy group, which gets you to partake in our Wednesday accountability group coaching sessions. So if that's something you're interested in, take a look at the link in the live stream and you can be part of that. It's just a way to support if you want to be helpful in that way. Okay, so I don't see any questions. And I think that might be it. What I will say, though, is I will be going through this chat after. It looks like there's a lot of people who are being helpful and being supportive. And I just want to thank all of you for that now. It takes a lot to be here, and it takes a lot to share some things that might be very hard to share. And I appreciate a lot of you that are here to be kind and to help other people out. So thank you so much. I'm going to talk about tomorrow really quick. Tomorrow will most likely be a morning live stream. I don't really want to do a morning live stream, but I believe tomorrow is the first Bears game. And I have some old coworkers. Yes, I used to work for a company before working on my own, but I have a few coworkers that want to get tomorrow, or that want to get together tomorrow and catch the Bears game and just catch up in general, which I thought would be nice. So I will probably be live streaming, I would say somewhere at like 10 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know how much I'm going to have to share, if I'm being honest, because I've literally, other than what I weigh in tomorrow, it'll probably be the same type of deal. But again, if it's important for you, if it's motivating for you, if it's inspiring for you, come to the live stream tomorrow. My guess is it's going to be somewhere around 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Central. If plans get canceled, because I actually have not heard back from them yet today, then we'll have maybe an earlier, or like an early afternoon live stream. So we'll see. Either way, you will get an update from me. Either way, I will continue streaming. I won't be streaming tomorrow evening, though, even though it's Sunday, because I'm eating Sunday. And I don't want to eat super late. So we're going to do a live stream. It'll just be earlier in the day. Okay. That's pretty much it. Aisha asks, or Aisha has a question. Jerome, just curious, do you ever feel frustrated when you fast? Yes. Yeah. Not always. Not always. When you say frustrated, do you mean frustrated in a way of like, I can't believe I have to fast today. I can't believe I still have a day left or 2 days left. Sometimes I feel that way, but for the most part, not anymore. For example, today, right? I'm not eating. And the way I look at this is today was a very busy work day for me. I spent all day with this thing in my hand, shooting pictures all day. I then had to do a live stream. The place I did the photo shoot was over an hour away. I had a lot going on, and it's almost no, it's already past 5. It's almost 6 p.m. here in Chicago. I'm only going to be up for probably another 4 hours tops before I get myself into bed. And I get to tell myself I get to eat tomorrow. So, yes, to answer your question, I do get frustrated sometimes like, oh man, I got to get through this fast again. But I also remind myself that I'm doing it because I ate a certain way, because I'm trying to get excess fat off of me. And I know that it's healthy for me, right? So, do the pros outweigh the cons? Yeah, in this instance. Is it hard every now and then? Of course it is, right? Um, and especially coming from you, Aisha, right? Who's currently 40 plus days fasted. I can only imagine how or what is currently going through your head with what you're doing. So maybe it's, I don't know if there's a part of you that's starting to think about what your life is going to look like after you complete your 60-day fast. So maybe those thoughts are coming into your head at this point, but I don't know. Maybe we can always talk about that later down the road. So okay, I think that's it. Tomorrow I'll be back. It most likely will be in the morning, but if plans get canceled, then I'll do it in the early afternoon. And that's all I got. So before I go, thank you all for being here today. I appreciate you all as always. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for being kind to each other. Thank you to my Finally Fasting fam, to the ones who put in a little extra support to support me. I appreciate you so much. We'll do this again tomorrow. And I guess I'll see you then. Okay. I'm out of here. I'm tired, guys. I've been up since 5:30 and I'm ready to just lay on the couch and watch a little TV and call it a night. So here's my obligatory wave. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye now.